Except if the rooftop, you have on the rooftop a pillar that's 10 by 4, then, or a roof that's 10 by 4, you can't. According to the Chachamim, you can't use any of it. Why? You're limited to yours. The Gemara says the Chachamim Shita makes a lot of sense. The Chachamim say that we go ahead and we view whatever wall you have below, we'll view it as above. So your jurisdiction is limited to your rooftop. And therefore, you're limited to your rooftop. That's it. And you can't go to another person's rooftop. Fred Gemara, but later Meya, if he holds Mamanavshach, if he holds like the Chachamim, why would it be available? Why would the whole Rishus be open to him? And if he doesn't hold like the Chachamim and the whole Rishus is open, why does he make this distinction between a rooftop that's 10 tefachim high? So we said it's a gezerah, a big chumrah. In your Rishus HaYachid, if you have a pillar that's 10 by 4, says Rabbi, you can't rest upon it. You can't put something upon it. Why? Because you may come to do it in Rishus HaRabim. So Hachanami on the rooftop, if you have a roof that's 10 by 4, you may come to rest upon it. And then you may come to do the same thing in Rishus HaRabim. So regarding the mechitzas, there's no mechitza. It's one big rooftop, everything is cool. Regarding this gezerah, if it's 10 tefachim high, we're going to say you can't use it. That was the shita. The most lenient shita was the shita of Rav Shimon, which you've mentioned many, many, many times. It's Masechta. You can go from a chatzah to a gag to a karfif. As long as the kli was outside before Shabbos, you can take it throughout the whole city. Masha Enkein, if it was in the house, you can't take it out. Those are the three sheets. And they're Machloikes Rav and Shmuel. According to Rav, right? According to Rav, according to the Shittas Chachamim, that if you have a separate rooftop, guys, right? It's your jurisdiction. How much can you carry in your jurisdiction? How much can you carry in there? Good. So listen, here's my roof. Here's this roof. Good. I didn't make an Eruv. So now, this is open to a place that's asa. We have a rule of thumb, excuse the pun. We have a rule that what? That anything that is open, paretz mimaloya is asa. Guys, chatzah katana, chatzah gedola, got it coming out of your head. We learned through that in the Sechta, right? The small chatzah, when it breaks, cannot, if you make an Eruv with the large chatzah, memela you can't carry in the small chatzah. The large chatzah you could carry because it has gifufim, it has what? It has walls, so it's a Pesach. But any place that's open, that is a place that's us, you can't carry, says Rav, according to the Shittas Chachamim, right? According to Shittas Chachamim, since they're both open and they both have jurisdiction, you can't carry more than 4 amas. Why not? Why don't we say good asik mechitzta? Why don't we say the house below obviously has a wall there? Why don't we say, says Rav, you don't say good asik by a mechitza that's not nikeres. If the mechitza is not recognizable, you don't say good asik. Since from this rooftop, you're going to one roof to the other, and you don't see a distinction between a wall, so therefore you don't say good asik. If there's no good asik, there's no wall. If there's no wall, each one is open to a place that's asa, you're limited to 4 amas. Says Shmuel, no. On your rooftop, you mutter throughout the rooftop. You can carry throughout the rooftop. Why? Because we say good asik mechitzta even by a rooftop that was what? That's not nikeres. So therefore, I have a fictitious wall, even though I don't have an Eruv, so I don't need an Eruv. Why? Because I have a wall between 2 of us, and therefore my Rishus is my Rishus, your Rishus is your Rishus, and you can carry throughout. And we're going to pick it up on pay test Amid Beis at the bottom. We're going to pick it up and pay test Amid Beis at the bottom. Amar Rabba, says Rabba, no. Amar Abaya, Bona Aliyah Gabe Beisa. A guy builds an Aliyah on top of his house. He builds an Aliyah on top of his house. So the halacha is, and the asul lefanah daka, and he makes a opening there that's now open to the whole roof. He makes an opening there that is now open to the whole roof. He built an Aliyah. He put a daka here. No one else is using the roof. It's open to the whole roof over here. Says you can see, right? You see the picture?
Yes, you can see.
So yeah, perfect.
Hutta b'chol hagag and kula. It's mutta, all the gag and mutta. He has total jurisdiction over here. Amar Rava, pam shadaka lesser. Sometimes the daka makes it aser. Sometimes if he makes a rooftop, it's going to ask him to go on the roof. Why? Let's say he has it over here. He made a second story. L'chayra, all the rooftops are his, but he makes an opening over here, and he has his garden. The reason he made this is not to have access to the roof. The reason he made it over here is to watch his garden. In this case, it would ask him to go on the roof because he hasn't done anything to matter the roof. It says, and for the Gemara, let's see it inside. Amarava pamsha daka lesar, hechi dami, Davidi lahade tarbitza. He made it next to a garden, the base of his house. The Omar, we say, Amid Aleph, Liniture Tarbitzahu Davidi. He did it for the purpose of his tarbitza. He did it for his purpose of going ahead to his garden. Now, you have a rooftop, you have an Amid, there's less than four in between. Says the Gemara, Boy Ram Barchama, Shtei Amos Begag, Shtei Amos Ba'amud. Rav said you can go between two rooftops, 2 and 2. What happens? Can you go from 2 to 2? Can you go from 2 to 2? Amar Rabbi, my kami boiler. What's your shaila? Now, this rooftop that's open has a halacha of a carmelis that you can only. There's guys when you can only carry 4 amis, there's a halacha of a carmelis. We know you can't carry from a carmelis to a Rosh Hashanah. So, what is Rami Bar Chama shaila? Guys, look at the picture. That wasn't what I wanted to do.
Why is the top of the roof a carmelis? I thought that there was just a yuck.
No, it's not. It's 4. You're limited to 4 amis. Since it's open to all the areas, it's considered carmelis. You're right. You're right. It's just a yuck, but as a din of a carmelis because you're limited to 4 amis. This is the shita's Rav, right? This is the shita of Rav. Good. According to Rav, who says a gag between gagim, you can't carry in between. 4 amis as a din of a carmelis. Shalom, yeah. Because of the din, not because of the mitzias. Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, yeah.
So now, guys, so what are you asking? Can you go from a carmelis to a Rosh Hashanah? We all know you can't. So what's Rami Bar Chama asking? 10 by 4. This amid is Rosh Hashanah, correct? It's 10 by 4. This is a carmelis. What's your shaila? 10 by 4. That's no shaila. Back in the Gemara, top of the line. Boy, Rami Chama, shtei amas begag, shtei amas ba'amid mahu. Amar Rabba, my kami boyle. Carmelis Rosh Hashanah, kami boyle. That's obvious. Says more Rami Bar Chama agav churfei lo yayin ba. Because of his charifis, he wasn't ma'ayin in the shaila. Elahachi kami boyle. Here was the shaila. Beis amas begag u beis amas be'achsadra. Here you go. You have over here, according to Rav, you have next to a gag, you have an achsadra, and the achsadra is at an angle. It's pitched. It's pitched. Mahu. Now this is a carmelis to a carmelis, guys. Right? This is a carmelis and this is a carmelis. So now here's a shaila. Since neither one is royal ladira, we'll see Rashi in a second. We'll say it's one rishus you can carry. Let's see Rashi on chad rishusa. Okay, said Rashi. Chad rishusa. He go down a little bit. Even though they're 2 people, they're not of the same person. How can you say they're one rishus? They have no chilik rishus. Even according to the chachamim, it's not similar to 2 roofs. And the chachamim say that it's 2 separate roofs. The hasan ikidiyurin lamata b'shneihem. They're 2 people who live below. The yeshleimar kishem sheyesh chilik rishuyas lamata b'batim. The chilik lamata solik v'yasa le'el. Fellas, what's the reason of the chachamim? Why do the chachamim say that this is considered over here, for example, 2 separate houses, because 2 separate roofs? Because over here underneath you have a roof, and we have a virtual roof going up. So therefore, it's considered 2 separate rishuyos because of this wall. Says the Gemara, as explained by Rashi, that's only because people live in it. Over here, no one lives in it. So Ken Zayin, even according to Chachamim, who hold it 2 separate rishuyos, since you have no people living in here, maybe it's 1 rishus. There's no one living over here. Maybe it's 1 rishus, and therefore the whole thing would be mutter. That's one way to learn pshat.
Aren't they living on the other side?
Excuse me?
Aren't they living on the other side of it?
It doesn't make a difference since there's no 2 people living in both. The fact that no one lives here, Chaim, that's what Rashi's saying. Rashi's saying that since no one lives over here, in the second one, maybe it's considered 1 rishus. Masha'en Kain, if you go to the roofs, they're 2 different roofs, right? Just like from roof to roof will be asa, from gadak sasha also asa. That was one shaila. Now here's the other shaila. Boy Rav Bibi Barabaya. According to Rav, who says you only get 4 amis. Beis amis begag u beis amis bechurva. Again, a churva doesn't have anyone living in it, right? So the chayr, it's the same shaila as achsadra. If the whole tzad to say it's one rishus is no one lives in the Achsadra, so l'chayra Rav Bibi is asking the same shaila as Rami Bar Chama, that it's a Carmelist. Says the Gemara, boy, Abaya, Bibi Bar Abaya, Beis Amis Begaga, Beis Amis Bechur V'Mahu, Amrav Kahana, Lav Hainu the Rami Bar Chama. Fellas, what is the din? If the whole purpose is the urine and no one lives there, so l'chayra it's the same shaila. Some Rabbi Rabbiya, am I going to come afterwards and ask the same question? No. Achsadra lechazi ledira. And achsadra, you can't live in it. And therefore, maybe it's one rishus. But for churva chazi ledira, a churva seems to be chazi ledira. And therefore, it's chazi ledira, maybe it's not one rishus. Or do we say, since the gagais are asa, here it's also asa? So now, if you're telling me it's chazi ledira, so obviously it should be asa. Guys, once it's chazi ledira, we're going to say there's a roof over here. According to Rabbanon, we're going to say good asik, and there's a roof over here. Or no, there's not a good asik. And it's Rab says we have two rooftops. It's fruits. It's open up to the other. So you're telling me there's a dira here, there's a dira here. There's no mechitza in between because why? Rab says that you don't say good asik in the scenario. So what's your shaila? And for the Gemara, imtim tzulaima shaila. It's an imtim tzulaima kamar. Imtim tzulaima achsadra. If you're going to tell me this case by the achsadra, the case of the achsadra, lechazi ledira, churva chazi ledira. If you're going to tell me the reason why it's considered one rishus is because it's not chazi ledira and therefore it's separate, that's because of achsadra. Masha'enkin over here, that is chazi ledira, I'd say it's not. Dilma hashnemi less for the urine. There's no one living there. Since there's no one living there, that should have the same halacha achsadra. And that Gemara says, teku. The Gemara says that the shaila that remains what a teku. It remains in a baya deloy ifshita. It remains in a baya deloy ifshita. Okay. I have to try to get up on something else. Hang in a second. I just have to try to get something up here. What did you hear? Is that the Shamba? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't want to tell you that, Rabbi.
Oh yeah.
I heard that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's right.
Oh yeah.
His son, 9 years ago, was the English shirt for his son today.
Gagin Hashavin. Fellas, you have Gagin that are equal. In other words, they're not one is higher than the other. So we're learning Lil Nishmas. Foil Mordechai. I know what was the father's name, Ben? Ben what?
No, it was a lady.
It was a Levi. Okay.
I don't know what his father's name.
Anyway, Gagin Hashavin. According to Reb Meir, remember, Reb Meir said his din, if there's one that's 10 tefachim, it's a problem. Here you have Gagin Hashavin, according to Reb Meir. V'gagdi yichidi l'Rabbanon, and the gag of a yachid according to Rabbanon. Guys, in other words, all these are one rooftop. Guys, Reb Meir, let's go through it, get it straight. Reb Meir holds it's one rishus. So gagam hashavim is all one rishus. The Chachamim say, well, if it's the gag of an individual, it's one rishus. Because again, according to Rabbanon, they're separate rishuyas and they're different people. So let's say a person owns a big area. Now, what did we say before? Rab said, in the case I told you, you're limited to 4 amis, and Shmuel said you get the whole rooftop. In a case, again, the scenario was, like the Rabbanon, if you have 2 separate people living below, according to Rab, 4 amis, because you're limited, one is open to the other. Over here, it's 1 rooftop. Good? What's the din? Rav Amamutul Kalta Bakula says, Rav, you can carry throughout the rooftop. Shmuel Ama Ematalta Bayela Dalit, only 4. Astira Mineu Bay. By the separate roofs, Rav said 4, Shmuel said the whole thing. By 1 roof, Rav says the whole thing, and Shmuel says only 4. Okay, now, I'm going to put this chart up. I'm going to do the chart, and then we're going to do it inside, okay? Yeah, Gag that's equal. The Gag is equal. Says Rav, according to Reb Meir, you're mutta b'kula. Why? There's only one surface, guys. It's Gag Hashav. According to Reb Meir Shita, as long as it's not 10 tvachim, it's all considered one roof. And we'll say good asik on the outside walls. The outside walls, in other words, when you get to the end of the houses, we'll say good asik. So we'll say this rooftop is hukif ledira, guys. We'll say this rooftop was surrounded for the purpose of living in, residing in. Therefore, says Gag Hashav, and according to Rav, it's mutta b'kula. That's according to Reb Meir. According to Rabbanon, Gagam Hashavin, it will be asa. Of course, there's no good asik, and it's open to a place that's asa. Now, this is going back to the original machlokes. This is going on to where, as we'll see soon, no good asik because it's open to a place issa since there's no erev. I think this is going to mix you up more. Let's see it inside. I think I'm going to mix you up more. Says the Gemara. Rav Omar mutal kalta bekula kasha, because he said earlier 4x4. The Rav, hasam loy minkra mechitzta. Over there, it wasn't recognizable in the mechitzas because they were between the two buildings. Since it wasn't recognizable, they were open to each other. Hacha, and therefore you don't say grasik. Hacha, it's one roof. Minkra mechitza, it's recognizable to each other because it comes to the ends. Mashmul says, Amit halta boy, ela dalid, why? Kasha, the Shmuel. Shmuel said earlier that what? It was mutta, the whole thing. We say grasik in the whole 4 area. Why over here they say it's asa? That's the kasha. Why before did he say it's mutta and he said it's asa? Says over here, the reason is the following. This rooftop is more than Beis Hasayim. The good asik, the walls that were put up on the outside were not put up for the purpose of dira. So it remains a rooftop that was Dalet Amis, that was Shaloi Hukuf Ladira. We know that a rooftop that's more than Beis Hasayim, that's not Hukuf Ladira, as the din of a Carmelis. Therefore, you're limited to Dalet Amis. Where it was separate, according to Rabbanan, it was separate roofs. You mutta b'kula, because we're going to say good asik, and you have your own dalet, you have your own area. Conversely, since here it's a huge area, and the area is not being what? It's not hukuf l'dira. Therefore, what? It's going to be dalet amis. So this stira, like look at the page, guys. Initially, according to Rabbanon, Rav held it was asa. We don't say good asik, and you can't carry it because it was open to a place to it. Here he says it's muta, because since you don't see grasik in the middle houses, we're going to say grasik since it's one rooftop, we're going to say on the outside. Well, here's the steer of Shmuel. Shmuel says over here it's asa. Here he says it's muta. Before he says, when we had the Rabbanon, separate rooftops, me, Dr. Ben, Shalom. Look at the guys. View the boxes is all a bunch of separate rooftops, right? So the box, I see boxes, you don't, right? In each box is separated. We say grasik. This one to this one to this one to this one. We're going to say grasik. Since we say grasik, it's muta b'kula. Fred the Gemara. So when is there one rooftop? Why does Shmuel says dalet amis? When it's one rooftop, the outside you don't say good asik in between. You only say it on the outside walls. The outside walls weren't the purpose for dira. It's more than Beis Hasayim. Any place that's hookah to dira that's yosim Beis Hasayim is going to be what? Limited to 4 amis. Those are the shitas. Okay, and let's see it right now. Shmuel possibly have yosim Beis Hasayim where it was separate rooftops, it wasn't greater than Beis Hasayim. Hacha v'yosim Beis Hasayim. Says the Gemara, v'hani mechitza, and now you'll say, according to Shmuel, what about the mechitzas below? So when it's owned by one individual, v'hani mechitzas lamata avidin, lamayda loy avidin. They're made for the purpose of the guy below. They're not made for the purpose of the guy above. V'havi karfif yosim Beis Hasayim shel hukuf the dira. It remains a karfif, an open area that was like hukuf the dira more than 5,000 square amis. So that is the machlokes over here. So therefore, in this sheet over here, I put over here. You can take a look at this. According to Shmuel, it's only dalid. You can limit it to dalid because since it's more than Beis Hasayim, the walls below, made for below, not above, not for the roof. When it's separate, guys, when it's separate housing, there's a svara to say good asik on the walls that separate the houses. So just like they separate below, they separate above. Over here, we're talking about gag and mashavim. We're speaking about the gag of a yachid, one individual. So those walls that are made for the individual below are not made for the individual above. And therefore, you don't say good asik between them. You only say on the outside walls. And the outside walls are not made of ladira. And therefore, it's just in base of sayim, and you limit to 4 amos.
I'm sorry, I was having a little trouble trying to picture. Are you talking about when you don't have a separation, it's like a semi-attached house where you have both roofs is one continuous thing?
Semi-attached house, we would say good asik, because that's made ladira. Let's say you would buy the semi-attached and you don't both, Dr. Ben, you would not say it.
Okay, thank you.
Because then it's not for the purpose of separate. It's made for the purpose below, just to separate, not for above. Right? Now, what about a boat? I think we have a little. Let's get the old Perich Chai back. See, I'm not good at getting the other one back. That's my problem. Okay, I'm not going to fool around with it. Okay, a boat. Let's say take a boat. You have a boat, and the boat is more than base Asayim. You can carry throughout the whole boat. You can only go ahead and carry bedalit. Why can you carry throughout the whole boat on the days? You have a mechitza, and he holds the mechitza, makes it hookah for dira. Because time it is, guys, the mechitza of the boat is that you should live on the boat. Since it's hookah for dira on the boat, even though it's one of base Asayim, you're good. You can carry throughout the whole thing.
Didn't we say earlier in the Masechta that the boat's always moving in the water, and therefore you can carry?
It's not a shaila about that. What was that a shaila about? That was a shaila about Dalit Amis and Meshusar Rabbi.
So
yes, that was a shaila of Eitzah. This is a shaila of creating an area. It is always moving. We said, again, I think the Gemara brought this in there also. I think the Gemara brought that back in there also. How do you view it of the boats? But this is a boat that's stationary. It's a stationary boat. The whole purpose is what? The whole purpose is to go ahead and keep the water out.
Would that svara apply to a cruise ship? Cruise ship, they're building it to live.
Cruise ship. We're going to hold like Rabbi and carry throughout the whole boat, so it's a moot point. Okay, there's a Taisus here on Mem Gimel that discusses it. Ki pligi b'shamda. There's a Taisus here. Boat. It wasn't Beis Asayim. Here it's Beis Asayim, so it's a Shaila Hukah Fladira. Over there it wasn't a Shaila Hukah Fladira because why? It was, yes, even if it wasn't Hukah Fladira, you would be able to carry because it's less than Beis Asayim. It was a smaller boat. Okay, anyway, very good. Now, so according to Rabbi, you can carry throughout the whole boat. According to Shmuel, you can't. Is halacha like you that you're limited to 4 amos, or is halacha like Rav you can carry throughout the whole boat? So Shmuel has charata. Hilchas kirav, the halacha is like Rav. If you turn the boat over, right? It says what depends what you turned it over for. So you tell me Rav says if you turned it over, you're limited to 4 amos. 1 second. Why did you turn over the boat? If you had turned over the boat to live underneath the boat, ostensibly it's a really big boat. They turned over the boat and you can live in the area there. So if that's the case, then l'chayra the walls are hook of ladira, and you should be able to carry throughout. Ma'ishna migag de yachid. What's the difference of the gag de yachid? Rav said the gag of an individual, fellas, that the outside walls will say good asik, and will be able to carry through the whole thing. So just take this boat, invert the boat. You'll say the action of inverting is making the walls for what? Of a hook of ladira, and you should be able to carry through the whole thing. So why would Rav be moda? Why you tell me Rav will be moda by a boat? Pashtus, if he turned over the boat to live under the boat, it should be the same as the roof of a yachid, where we view the outside walls as hook of ladira through the din of good asik. Who then over here we should go ahead and rule the inversion of the boat upside down, making the walls into the walls of a mechitza ladira, and also should be permitted. So says the Gemara, the ella shekafel zoifsa. You didn't turn it over for the purpose of dira. You turned it over for the purpose of pitching the bottom of the boat with tar. Since you wanted to pitch the bottom of the boat with tar, it's not hook of ladira. Therefore, Rav says if it's not hook of ladira, you're limited to what? Since it's more than base of sayim and has a din of a carmelist, any hook, if you more than base of sayim has a din of a carmelist, you're limited to 4 amas. That's good? Okay. Rav Ashi Masni La Asfina. Rav Ashi learned this machloikus between Rav and Shmuel on boat. He learned the machloikus Rav and Shmuel regarding a boat that Rav said you can carry throughout the whole thing, and Shmuel limited you to 4 amas. And Rav Achabre the Rav Masni La Achsadra. He learned this on Achsadra, and we had Achsadra. Open Achsadra is it has a roof, but it doesn't have walls, and it's in a bika, guys. So a bika is a valley. A bika is a valley. Do we view it as open to the valley and you'd be limited to 4 amas because the valley is a carmelist? Or do we say no? We'll say the lashon pi tikra yored v'sosim, and therefore you'll view the achsadra as closed off, and you will be able to carry throughout the achsadra. That's the shaila at hand. The itmar achsadra bebika. You got an achsadra in a carmelist. Rav amamutal taltel b'kula. Rav says you can carry throughout. Ushmul over eimetalton ba ela ba'arba. So machloikas, the same machloikas as we had above by Sfina. The same shitas. Rav says you can carry, and Shmuel says dal. Rav amamutal taltel b'kula. Amrinon pi tikra yared b'saisin. We're going to say the edge of the beams of the achsadra, they descend down. There's 4 sides. We'll say pi tikra. You don't say over here and this is where Shmuel had charata, I guess, from the halach he said above, right? You said according to this, he limited to 4 amas. Now we're going to see tomorrow's daf. We're going to see tomorrow's daf a few instances where you can carry. Let's do tomorrow's daf today. Good. Go down to the bottom. We're going to come back in a second. Amrav Yehuda kishatim salayim l'divrei meya gagan was just la'atzman, chatzeres was just la'atzman. Meaning, you can carry from a gag to a gag, but you can't carry from a gag to a chatzer. But you could carry from a chatzer to a chatzer. Karfifus was just la'atzman. You can't carry from a gag to a karfif. You can't carry from a chatzer to a karfif, but you could carry from a karfif to a karfif. In other words, just line them up: 1 to 1, 2 to 2, 3 to 3, but not 1 to 2, not 1 to 3, not 2 to 1, not 2 to 3. Good. The Divrei Chachamim, gagim chatzeres rishus achas. The gag and the chatzer will be 1 rishus, and karfif rishus achas. Okay, and that rishus achas. Okay, so let's go back to our Gemara now. Says the Gemara now, according to this, now the Rav Aliba the Reb Meir. Now Reb Meir guy says they're all separate, correct? It should be the Talta Migag L'Chatzer. You should be able to carry from a gag to a Chatzer, because he doesn't view the gag as a carmelist, guys. Why shouldn't you be able to carry from a gag to a Chatzer? Since he views the gag, one gag as open area, you should be able to go from a gag to a Chatzer. He doesn't view it as look at Rashi. Since when they're all equal, Reb Meir says they're one roof. Mitatlan the kulon, you can carry throughout. Alm alav carmelist linu, as I just told you, it's not a carmelist. Once you're not limited to 4 amas, take out the word carmelist. if in your minds, like I told Shalom Kagan, you hear the word 4 Amos, guys? It's a Carmelist. You limit, it's a Carmelist. It's been of a Carmelist. That's why when they were opened up to the different guys on the roof, it's a Carmelist. Now, if Reb Meir holds you can carry throughout the whole roof, yes, it's not a Carmelist, right? You can carry. Memela, why can't you carry from a gag to a chutzner? And I just told you, yes, tomorrow's daf. That what? Reb Meir limits chutzner to chutzner, gag to gag, and karfif to karfif. He doesn't allow you to mix and match. It's not a Chinese menu. He doesn't allow you to mix and match, right? So now, continues Rashi, Alma love Carmelist Ninu. So litla mi gag l'chutzner. You should be able to carry from a gag to a chutzner. Alma Armina l'kaman l'divra meya, as we're going to see tomorrow. Gag m'shus li'asma ch'ster shus li'asma. So what? So guys, you're the kasha. You have the inside information. Tomorrow's that. Reb Meir says no mix and match. Like Reb Meir, according to Rav, you should be able to mix and match. Why? Because an open roof is not a Carmelist. So is a chutzner. So carry from an open roof to a chutzner. What's your problem? On that, the Gemara answers it's a gezerah problem. Mishum de Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi. It's the problem of Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, who said at the beginning of the parak, right? I told you before, it's gezerah at the tal b'rshus harabim. If we let you go from a roof top to a chutzner, you may go from a chutzner to a tal. A tal is like a shtickle roof, right? And a tal is yud by 4. That's rishus hayachid. So that gezerah that Reb Meir said did not allow you to go from a rooftop that was 10. Does not allow you to go from a gag to a chutzner. The same discrepancy of any height will go ahead and enact that gezerah. Again, one more time. We began to share, giving you the nakuda that we had of yesterday's daf. Like Reb Meir, if it's all considered one rishus, why in the world does it make a difference if you come to a roof that's 10 tefachim high? That's our answer, because you may come to do this in rishus harabim. We're giving the same answer now. A gag to a chutzner, you may come to go ahead and put it to the tal, the same gezerah. Als the mechitza dikadin, it's one area. It's not a Carmelist to a rishus hayachid. It's one rishus hayachid. It's not a problem. Als the gezerah, maybe since it's not the same height, you may come to carry rishus harabim. That's the problem. Gezerah of Yitzchak Ravdini. Now, u'shmuel oliba de rabbanan. Now Shmuel said it is a Carmelist, right? Guys, good. So therefore, nitla mi gagla karfif, fellas. One Carmelist to another Carmelist. It's one Carmelist. Why can't you go out? Now you'll tell me, you can't carry in a Carmelist. It means 2 amis in the gag and 2 amis in the karfif. Yet Reb Meir says you can't do anything. Well, leave it. Rabbanan said now. Rabbanan said that that's one nitla mi gagla karfif. So I'm a Rabbi Ravula gezerah shem yifkos hagag. You're worried that the gag may get less, and then you're going to be going from rishus hayachid to a Carmelist. In other words, right now it's considered a Carmelist. What happens if it gets cut off a little bit and comes rishus hayachid? Then you can't go from the gag as a rishus hayachid to the karfif, which is a Carmelist. So really, the Carmelist, you should be able to go 2 to 2. Since you're worried about the dimensions of the gag being diminished to the be a rishus hayachid, from rishus hayachid to karfif, you can't even go an inch. Ihachi mekarfif karfif nami. From one karfif to another, you should not be able to go 2 to 2. It says lo yitalto, and for the Gemara, dilma nefchis, the same mat, the same problem. Maybe it'll become less. We also the tule says hasa by the karfif he nifchis mikro milsi. You'll recognize it. Hacha by the roof he nifchis loy mikro milsi. You won't recognize it. Since you won't recognize it, we make a gezerah. Okay, Bez Hashem, we'll see you tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Mazel tov to Pini.
Mazel tov.